You're getting married. Um, you know, I have a mortgage. You're moving out. I have a 401k. I mean, like, it seems like today that had me asking, what's my age again?
If only I had the tomatoes with me right now. I don't have any tomatoes.
Oh, hold on. Before we kick it into the intro, oh man, that was that was pretty apathetic. Okay, hold on. Let me try that intro one more time with feeling.
There you go.
And welcome back, everybody, to the best music podcast on all sides of planet Earth. And the way that we measure that distinction is we go to Ukraine and we travel to Uganda, but we take the long way around because we go the extra mile for you, dear listener. This podcast is called Hey, Listen to This, and it is hosted by two dashingly good-looking men who share the same middle name. I'm the one. I'm the only. I'm the one who is basically walking outside, looking up at the sky, and just screaming, why the fuck is it so cold outside all of a sudden, Ryan James Kearns?
And I am the one, the only, the because it's November and this stuff happens every year, even though we're still not used to it, Matthew James Durzik. And for those of you wondering what we do here on Hey, Listen to This, it's pretty much right in the title. Every week, me and Ryan pick out an album of our choice and look at the other and say, hey, listen to this. We listen to the album, and then we come here to review that album, track by track, line by line, note by note, pick out what we like, what we don't like, what we thought could have improved, what we thought could stand out, and also, we give it a full rating at the end of the episode, and we pick our favorite tracks and our least favorite tracks. And we give an album recommendation based off what we've listened to. And speaking of what we've listened to, Ryan, last time out, what did we talk about?
So we tackled probably one of the most critically acclaimed albums in, modern rock history. With that being Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. So, yeah, for me, super happy doing that review. It's been an album that I've been ultra curious about for years, because I knew, again, like I basically alluded at the start of my recap here, that Pet Sounds, highly acclaimed. I wanted to figure out what it was all about, and for those of you who want to hear my full feelings and Matt's feelings as well, you know what to do. You're an educated person. You woke up this morning. You knew how to turn off your alarm. But even if you didn't use an alarm, you know how to turn on, a podcast app and hit play on an episode. So you know what to do. So, anyways, Matt, what was your thoughts and feelings about covering Pet Sounds last week?
I'm super happy we did it. And again, I don't know if we could officially be called critics yet, but as far as the acclaimed part, spoiler alert, there might be a little bit of acclamations in that episode. But again, I don't want to spoil too much, but the episode is up for those who want to listen to it. But I am glad to have revisited that album and appreciate some of the better tracks there, like God Only Knows, Wouldn't It Be Nice, etc., etc. So that being said, Ryan, what is it that we're going to be talking about this week?
So, the album that we're going to be talking about this week actually came out of your camp, because this was like part 2 of celebration of the number 99. So for those of you who are super fans or just want me to get to the point, this episode right here, right now, is going to be our 99th full-length album review. And the album that we're covering today is going to be from the band blink-182. In that album specifically, the reason why we're hinting at the number 99 is this album came out in 1999, and that album is Enema of The State. For those of you who aren't aware or can't just do a quick Google, or just look at the episode title and be like, oh hey, that's what they're talking about. So Yeah, I'm gonna kick it back over to you, Matt. For the listener out there who's just completely oblivious of what is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, pop punk band of the modern rock era, in that they might be asking themselves, "What is a Blink 182?" Why don't you tell the dear listener what is a Blink 182?
Gladly, I will explain what a Blink 182 is. What a Blink 182 is a band from California that, surprisingly, for a band that is more known with the late 90s and early 2000s, actually started out in the early 90s, around 1992. And basically, the main guys, or perhaps the main guy to start out with, is guitarist Tom DeLonge, who had a bit of a rocky adolescence, got expelled from school, went to another school, started a band, welcome to California. And while he was there, he was introduced by a friend's girlfriend's to that friend's girlfriend's brother, being future bassist and vocalist Mark Hoppus. Because at the time, one of his friends was dating Mark's sister Anne, and said, "Hey, here's my brother Mark." Tom's like, "Oh, hi, Mark." And thus the origins of Blink-182 began. And so throughout the 90s, they hired on a drummer by the name of Scott Rayner. And we've done this a few times before, Ryan. Because there were two names, technically three, but we'll get to the third in the case because their third is part of their fourth. But before they became Blink-182, Ryan, what were the names of Blink-182?
So, if I'm not mistaken, I think I know the third iteration of the name that bleeds into the fourth one. And that third name, I think it's just simply called Blink, if I'm correct.
You are correct. So Blink was the name of the band when they released their first content in the mid-90s. But before they were Blink, and thus Blink-182, there were two names that they went by before that. And do you want to take a guess as to what either of those are?
Yeah, I'm gonna take one guess at one, and then I'm gonna just take another stab at the other one. Um, my first guess is gonna be Santa Monica Beach Boys, and then after that, more seriously, Man Overboard.
Both solid guesses, both educated guesses, both incorrect, unfortunately. The two names that they had before Blink were, and these are amazing, Figure 8 and Duct Tape. Those were the names of Blink-182 before they became Blink-182. And so, with their pop punk sound coming out of, the California scene, they played local gigs, they played at, your typical frat parties and, bars, and also apparently at the Elks, which is kind of amazing. But by the 90s, they had their first release, their first album entitled Cheshire Cat, released in February of 1995. So that's 30 years ago. Blink-182's first album was 30 years ago. And if you don't feel the sands of time coming out of your eye crust, I'm sorry. I don't know how to feel for you. But after that album, they came up with their next album in 1997 entitled Dude Ranch. And after that album, which featured their first signature song entitled Damn It, they fired drummer Rayner because he had succumbed to alcoholism and was just becoming a problem with the band. So he was fired by Hoppus and DeLonge, and then he was replaced by the new drummer, which I'm sure everybody is somewhat familiar with if you follow music at all over the last 30 years, a guy by the name of Travis Barker. And when they did that, they got together and started coming up with some new material, and eventually processed what would become their third and breakthrough album entitled Enema of the State in 1999, and that is the one we are talking about today. So before I get into my experience with Blink-182, Ryan, I will throw the baton to you. What is your experience with these fine young gentlemen from the state of California?
So my experience with Blink-182 is one time I just decided to blink 182 times. Sorry, that joke was right there for the taking. It's going to be the only joke, only time I'm going to make the joke forever here on out. So, no, in all seriousness, my experience with the group is, I was first introduced to the group via the magical music variety show called TRL that was a huge thing in our generation. So, remember TRL, man? Man. Simpler times.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But, no, in all seriousness, though, my first introduction to them was probably, I'm going to say the song All the Small Things, if not, What's My Age Again? No, I'm going to say it's All the Small Things. I think that music video hit my eyeballs first, if I can recall correctly. But yeah, at the time, late 90s, during the rise of the boy bands and the pop girlies, with that music video kind of making fun of that scene, young Ryan's brain was just like, you know what? I get these guys. I too know that work sucks. And she left me roses by the stairs. Oh man. But no, from there on out, I don't know. I didn't follow Blink's career after the album that we're talking about today until probably late high school, early college, and that was due to the fact that when I was working at McDonald's at the time, I had a coworker by the name of Drew who was really into Blink-182. It was one of his favorite bands of all time, and he would play Enema of the State, Take Your Pants Off and Jacket, and obviously one of their other biggest albums at the time, which was their self-titled release. And I kind of was just like, hey, these Blink-182 guys, they know a thing or two with punk rock. And so yeah. And from there on out, I mean, I saw them live once. It was a tour that had My Chemical Romance open up for them. Man, that was one hell of a tour. My Chemical Romance opening up for Blink-182. Wasn't really impressed with Blink's performance during that show because of Tom DeLonge's vocals. I don't feel like they translate too well live. But, I mean, My Chemical's kind of cool. But, outside of the live show, I mean, I up until this point, I've listened to, Enema of the State, the albums that I've already mentioned, my my background with the group. And, yeah, they've always been a band that I've held in, decent high regard in terms of, at least shaping the modern pop punk scene. Several of the bands that I nowadays reference Mark Hoppus as inspirations for what they do nowadays. Hot Mulligan has a song referencing Mark Hoppus, and if I'm not mistaken, the Wonder Years collaborated or were inspired to write a song based on how Mark Hoppus wrote songs. I could be mistaken. I could be going down the wrong rabbit hole right there. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's my experience with the group. How about you, Matt? What is your experience with Blink?
So, like you, I discovered Blink-182 through means of pop music. Unlike you, it really wasn't through TRL because as the son of a Catholic mother and the son of a father who was the son of a Lutheran minister, I didn't really watch a whole lot of MTV growing up, and you can pretty much figure out why. So I didn't have my MTV phase until roughly, I would say, late 2002, most of 2003 and 2004, really when R&B was starting to take over, like Usher and Lil Jon and Jay-Z with the Black Album, and that was kind of like my teen MTV phase. So this was years after Blink-182 somehow snuck their way onto MTV and TRL. That being said, I did know of those songs from when they came out because of another means of pop music at that time, one that still goes on today, and that is the Now That's What I Call Music series. The first ones of which that came out, at least Now 4, which I consider to be one of my favorites, had all the small things on there. Now 3, and this is the American version for any of our international listeners, had What's My Age Again, and that was my first experience listening to Blink-182 was through those means. I also heard All the Small Things come across a few times on one of the local pop stations, Hot 101 out of Youngstown. And so that was pretty much it. And then with subsequent releases of the Now That's What I Call Music series, and this is not a plug for them, these are just facts. I believe 8 had the rock show from their next album, which was Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Now 10 had First Date. And then you skip away all the way to, I think, 15 or 16, which had Feeling This from their self-titled release from 2003. So that's pretty much all I knew of Blink. And then at that same time, due to MTV, I also discovered I Miss You, which was also off their self-titled EP. So all of which to basically say I knew them from the hits and pretty much nothing else up until probably a couple years ago. And then around that time, I decided to listen to this album in full. Thought, okay, let's put it on the shelf, put in that metaphorical freezer we keep talking about. Never saw them live, but I did know that they had their sort of style. I know Travis Barker eventually drifted off into side projects and backtracking Soulja Boy that one time, which was kind of cool. But yeah, aside from that, I really don't have too much experience with Blink-182. I don't have a former coworker who was heavy into them, but for the sake of these two songs that I had mentioned at the start being off this album that sort of torpedoed my idea of, rock music in the late 90s, I figured, you know what? Let's give these guys their due. Let's give Blink-182 their 183rd Blink, if you will.
Oh, man. So, yeah, Blink-182, I'm very excited about diving into the album here today because, yeah, this album here, I want to say it's very foundational for modern pop punk, as I alluded to in my dissection about the band, and also, our generation as a whole when it comes to, pop punk predating the whole emo pop punk phase, with All Time Low and all that stuff that followed afterward. So yeah, without any further ado, Matthew, are you ready to kick off this review with the opening track, which is called Dumpweed?
Yes, Dumpweed, which is just a great song title to kick things off with. And what exactly is Dumpweed about? Well, musically, it is about Blink-182 proving that they are a very fast, very powerful rock, pop, punk band. Because right from the start, you get the MO. You get the very fast guitars from Tom DeLonge. You get the counterparting bass from Mark Hoppus. And like I said, I never really got into Blink-182's older stuff like Cheshire Cat or Dude Ranch, but Travis Barker, man, whoa, this dude is making a statement for the band early and often. Like, he is just flailing and driving this engine to its umpteenth limits as far as speed, technicality. If you listen to the fills, not just on this song, but throughout most of the album, you will find that Travis Barker is a very, very gifted drummer and very much the drummer for the moment with Blink-182. Now, on the other hand, you have, as you mentioned earlier, Tom DeLonge's vocals. And this is a bit of a revisionist history because obviously, anyone who's listened to All the Small Things or I Miss You, especially I Miss You, we all know the meme. kind of understands what Tom DeLonge is vocally, and it's exactly how you expect on this song. He has that nasally whine that sort of sounds like this, and he sounds like he's upset all the time, and it's very cartoony and it's very exaggerated, and it feels like it only works in one possible musical context, and thankfully for him, this is it. Fast pop punk that is designed to showcase their feelings and emotions about how they view things, and particularly on this track, women. Now, the lyrics on this track are good, but they are a little on the dangerous side. And again, hindsight has sort of given these guys the context of, oh, they're just portraying some losers, some freaks, some, very, as critic Robert Kreisgau put it, girl-phobic. They're very afraid of women and they're afraid of what they'll do to them. And if you were to hear this as your first Blink-182 track ever, especially 2025, you might think that these guys are a little wrong out there with their worldview on relationships, because finishing the chorus with the line, "I need a girl that I can train," like, that's walking a tightrope right away. That's walking a tightrope of, I don't know if I'm going to be okay with half the stuff these guys say. But again, hindsight has given them the benefit of the doubt, because I would say 99% of the people who have listened to Blink-182 have not listened to this song first. They have listened to the hits, they've listened to the ironic musings of What's My Age Again and all the small things, which we'll get to. But they could listen to this and be like, okay, this is not a song about how Tom DeLonge actually feels. This is a song written from the perspective of someone who feels this way. For the record, it is not in my top 3, and for full disclosure, I have a top 3 and a bottom 1 for this album. But musically speaking alone, Dumpweed is a pretty solid start to this album, and lyrically it sounds good, even if it does walk that tightrope.
I think for the most part, like, I'm with you, like, almost like pound for pound for, like, my thoughts and feelings about a Dumpweed as compared to, like, what you just talked about. And before I dive into my feelings and my rebuttal about, like, your dissection about the track, I too have a top 3 and a bottom 1, and that, like, I'm curious, man. I'm curious because, like, are we gonna be basic Sally's or are we gonna be spicy Sam's? We'll see, man. But yeah, I'm gonna start by talking about that line. I need a girl that I can train. Like, I'm right there with you. The line hasn't aged the best, and, like, I'm not making any excuse for what it is. Like, it's a very immature line, and I'm glad that, well, I almost want to say I'm glad that Blink can, like, has grown from that line, but I don't know, like, they still make, like, masturbation jokes off of, like, their latest album. So, like, but that line aside, this track is not my bottom track because of that line, but it could have been. But gravitating away from, like, the lyrics and everything like that, like, the fastness that you articulated in your dissection off the track is one thing that instantly drove me to appreciate the track. It probably kept it out of the bottom track territory, to be honest with you, because I like how everything comes crashing in. You get that guitar line from DeLonge, and he does it very effectively, and then the drums come crashing in, and everything's just so good. And the way that the band contrasts from the verses as compared to the chorus, like, it's it's very much like right in my wheelhouse. I very much appreciate that shifting gears, and they execute it pretty seamlessly on it, like, without any hiccups. So very much appreciate that. And that guitar lick that I talked about that kicked everything off, you hear that in between, like, sections in the song. So again, excellent musical composition there. And one other thing I'm going to highlight about the song as a whole is I do appreciate how in the verses DeLong's vocals mimic the instrumentation. That's like always a turn on for me in terms of a musical kink. So yeah, overall though, like I very much appreciate what we have coming out of the gate. I kind of wish that line, "I need a girl that I could train," didn't exist because otherwise, like I would have no problem with this track whatsoever. But it's a little bit of a mixed bag coming out of the gate. A little like it's almost like it's taking a dump. But it's almost like it's like a dump weed, where like you take a dump and then you mellow out. I don't know. I tried to make that like that pun stand there, man.
It's all right, man. It's all right. And to be fair, that line is problematic. I understand that there is a context for making songs like that, or at least providing some sort of ambiance that proves that you're mature enough to discuss something like that, or provide that that's some sort of parody. They don't really do it on this track, but again, hindsight has given them the benefit of the doubt. So I'm ready if you are, and I'll throw it to you for the next track, which is Don't Leave Me.
Don't worry, I never will, man. So, anyways, with Don't Leave Me Here, we get Mark Hoppus, front and center stage, and yeah, it almost seems like Mark's take personally on the whole like Dumpweed thing, maybe a little bit, but diving in a little bit further in, like a little bit into the track here, like for me, this song is pretty much no gas and all gas, no breaks. Unlike the previous song where you get like the slight break in the verses, like everything's like very focused, the energy is there throughout the whole thing. The bass work for Mark here is just so good, and like this is one of my favorite things about like a good effective punk rock band, because you get good authentic bass work instead of just straight up just doing the root note as fast as I can. You get like when you get somebody that can go up and down fiddle on a bass neck there, like it's always a good time for me. And also shout out to Travis Barker for his drum work here. It's very, very good. I do like it as 100%. And one thing I do like here is the chorus in the song, how it basically ends with, "I said, don't let your future be destroyed by my past," and she said, "Don't let my door hit your ass." It's a very tongue-in-cheek kind of hey, we're in a relationship, and oh, somebody's being affected, your partner's being affected by your past, and you guys are arguing about it. It's a very fun chorus. I'm always here for it. And the bridge as well is a good bridge, because it builds up around the lyric "one more time of feeling," and for that to be used as the boiling chemical to bring the song into a final explosion in the final chorus, that's very thoughtful, very effective. Shout out to Mark for writing the lyrics like that. And yeah, the only other thing I gotta mention about "Don't Leave Me" is I do like how it's pretty you get a pretty much a seamless transition from Dumpweed into this track. It makes it a very pleasant listening experience for the listener. So yeah, didn't land in the top track spot for me, but it's very much gonna go into what I'm going to call the blink-182 song bucket, in that it's a good song, a lot of energy, a lot of creative instrumentals, but nothing that really kind of blows my pants off, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean, and I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm right there with you as far as where this ranks. It falls into the Blink-182 song bucket for me as well. My first note about Don't Leave Me is they're fast. They're very fast, because they are. But you did nail it. Travis Barker sounds great. Mark Hoppus on the bass sounds great. And his vocals are a nice change from Tom DeLonge. Not to say that Tom DeLonge, again, is bad at what he does, because what he does is perfect for this context. But in the sense, so is Mark Hoppus. His vocals fit this kind of music very well as well. Although I will say the one nitpick I did have about Don't Leave Me is the vocals, not how he sings, but how they were produced, because it feels like, particularly on the verses, and maybe it's just because of how the guitars are sounding and how fast Travis is going on the drums, but almost sounds like he's a little bit buried in the mix. Not entirely buried to the point where you can't understand anything he's saying. You know, we're not going into full Pearl Jam territory here, but it does feel like it's a bit buried, and I did not necessarily appreciate that as much. But otherwise, I'm pretty much right in alignment with you. I did like the chorus a lot, especially the way it ended. Basically, he's trying to talk it out and say, or stand up for himself by saying, don't let your future be ruined by my past. And she's just like, all right, fine, just stop talking, man. Just go. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Like, please leave me alone. Like, it's very much a miscommunication written out in a relationship through song, and I thought it works very effectively too. And I agree with you that the continuation with Dumpweed heading right into the song does create for, I'm not sure if they were going for a live feel with some of these songs, but it works very well. Definitely creates more of an album ambiance. And yeah, Don't Leave Me is a solid track too. I got it sitting in the good blink-182 song bucket myself.
So one thing I want to comment on before we talk about why aliens exist is the fact that Blink-182 was heavily, they drew influence from the Ramones, so that live aspect that you were talking about with transition from Dumpweed into Don't Leave Me, that might be a direct correlation to how the Ramones back in the day, what made them gain notoriety outside of the fact of they were one of the first bands to put punk rock on the map, is that during their live shows they would just play songs back to back to back to back to back. Shout out to Charlie XCX there, but yeah, it's in order to create this frenzied high energy experience that the person enjoying the music and just ride one high to the next. So that was just one thing that I had in my brain there. So without any further ado, Matthew, are you ready to talk about why aliens exist? Tell me, do aliens exist?
Depends on who you ask. I have been on multiple radio shows that have discussed this. Not necessarily by choice, but that is another story for another day. As far as the songs Aliens Exist go, first of all, I did note that much like Dumpweed and Don't Leave Me, it definitely has the same sort of tempo and vibe. I think it might even be the same key as the first two, which does get a little repetitive, but it isn't a bad thing ultimately because they sound good doing it again. Barker sounds good, Hoppus sounds good, DeLonge sounds good, and so it goes. But speaking of DeLonge, he does sing better here. It does have a bit more of a melodic tone compared to Dumpweed, where it just feels like he's not necessarily shouting, but definitely going for more attitude than notes. Here, he manages to achieve both, I would say, and he sings more like it's a melodic song, which, in the case of Aliens Exist, it is. And that's kind of funny that we're talking about him singing a more tender melody and more of a having more of a childlike wonder on this song, or at least sort of a "you can't tell me what to do, mom" type of attitude on the song. Because the song goes after the CIA. I don't know if we should mention that, but it definitely goes after the CIA, saying, hey, the CIA may be hiding stuff from us as far as aliens existing, so maybe we should be talking about this, which, bold move, especially in 1999. Well, anytime, really. But yeah, I really like the way DeLonge sounds on here, and I do like how the lyrics are this mysterious blend of childlike wonder and defiance toward the parents. Very much in that sweet spot for the punk audience where, it's very much, I wonder what's out there, and also, you can't tell me what's out there. I want to find out for myself. I like that quite a bit. And this came very, very close. I would probably say this is a solid number 4 for me as far as my rankings go, because this does have a little bit of a freshness to it. It does have some great performances, and it does, again, have this sort of thing, but it just was missing that little thing that propelled it into my top 3. But still, Aliens Exist, a very good song. Definitely one of the better album tracks off of Enema of the State.
And for me, like the lyrical context that you lay down, like I absolutely agree with. I do like the kind of a little bit of a spin that Tom takes here. And for those of you who aren't aware, Tom DeLonge does actually believe in aliens. He has a very strong fascination in them, and he's even claimed to have made contact with them. So yeah, shout out to Tom DeLonge and his aliens, man. Anyways, without going down a huge rabbit hole here, on the instrumental front, though, a couple of things I want to highlight here is the first verse. You basically get home base, first gear for the song here. You get the vocals, you get the the backing of the band. But one thing I did like after that first verse is how the guitar does come crashing in. I do like that. I'm always a huge fan of when I get smacked with a wall of sound, and Blink does that very effectively here and throughout a couple of the tracks that we're going to be discussing throughout the album here today. The chorus is just so good. I do like the chorus quite a bit. And the one thing I do like about the chorus specifically, and it kind of relates into the bridge as well, is that you get kind of a dizzying kind of effect. And given the lyrical context about extraterrestrial life and how kind of crazy and dark and scary and ordinary, it almost seems like Tom's head swirling, and I do like that. That sonic representation of the mental confusion that's going on there. So always a fan of that. And one other thing I want to do highlight here is just talk about getting smacked with the wall of sound. You get that throughout a couple different spots in the track here. So I always love the moments where the band can linger on a phrase or on a note, and then you kind of get hit with a musical sound bust coming out of left field. It's not a huge crazy wall sound, but if you're listening via headphones or even if you can listen intently, you definitely get hit with that wall of sound. Like you, I do appreciate Aliens Exist. Probably on the same kind of plane, honestly, in terms of I'm not putting this in the blink-182 song bucket. I'm putting it in the underrated deep cut from the album song bucket. So then, for those of you who want a tiered listing of that, that's one step above the Blink-182 song bucket.
Yeah, it's a good one. And I think one thing I forgot to mention with this track, and I'll mention it before we go away to college with the next track, is that for the first time on this album, maybe there's a little bit of it in Don't Leave Me and just a tiny bit of it in Dumpweed, but definitely on Aliens Exist, you get the band's very strong use of dynamics. It's not just all, you mentioned the Ramones earlier. The Ramones were very much all gas, no brakes. Here, we see a punk band applying some brakes a little bit. They put their foot down on the brake pad, and they realize, hey, maybe it's okay to go slow for a second. And they do, and it sounds really, really nice. But that's my final piece on Aliens Exist. Ryan, I throw it back to you for the next track, which, as I alluded to, is entitled Going Away to College.
So with Going Away to College, for me, this is the very definition of a pop punk song from the late 90s. And when I tell you the very definition of a pop punk song from the late 90s, did you know that Mark allegedly wrote this song in about 10 minutes after watching Can't Hardly Wait while feeling homesick on Valentine's Day.
I did not know that, but I 100% believe it.
So yeah, like, and the lyrics, like, basically kind of like, emulate that, because like it's all about like, being afraid about going to, being anxious about being in love. Like, you get lyrics about why does it feel the same to fall in love or break it off? If young love is just a game, then I must have missed a kickoff. So like, I do like the lyrics and how they're so like, pop punk high school, like, lovey boy kind of stuff. So chef's kiss to that. And like, me, I'm always like, trying to like, dive into lyrics and trying to find like, hidden meanings of God and stuff. But sometimes, you gotta enjoy like a gas station hot dog, if you know what I mean. So, or like a bag of Cheetos from Giant Eagle. So, outside of the lyrics, though, yeah, outside of the lyrics as a whole, like I do like what the song has to bring to the table. Like a couple, like, the little, like, nooks and crannies that I did appreciate is like in the third verse, you can hear the guitar doing a nice offbeat, like, section. It's when you listen in with like earbuds or just in general, like you are rewarded with that like nice little like texture that pops out to you. So that's a very nice touch. The chorus here is probably one of the best off the album here so far. Again, we're gonna be coming across some really good choruses relatively shortly, but I do enjoy the chorus here. It's probably the best that we've come across so far in the album. But yeah, outside of that, the bridge is pretty good. I do like what it has, what it's bringing to the bucket there in terms of just the whole song appreciation. So yeah, I'm walking away from going away to college feeling like, I'm putting this alongside Aliens Exist in the deep cut song bucket there for me, but not quite enough to be put into a top track contention for me. So.
I'm probably just a hair lower on this track than you are. Not to the point where it's my least favorite track. I will get that out of the way. But to me, this probably goes into the good Blink-182 song bucket. And the reason for that being is, first of all, while the band does sound good, once again, this was the point where I was starting to think, okay, guys, this is the fourth track in a row you've done this. And it feels like you are putting out the same chords, same tempos, same feel. And again, it does not sound bad, so I didn't do the System of a Down thing where I knocked something down for being too samey sounding. It sounds good. I will give you that. It sounds good. And I do like the lyrics too. And like you said, they are very simplistic. It is, well, it's kind of right in the title. It's a song about going away to college. And the fact that he wrote this in 10 minutes does not surprise me at all. But the one key thing that I really did like about this track a lot, not just the dynamics that they displayed like they did on Aliens Exist, but for the first time, I think, on this album, we get the harmonies. And who knew that a pop punk band, let alone these guys, could harmonize as well as they do? And they do a very good job of it on the chorus. So I was very appreciative of that. I think the way that Tom and Mark harmonize on here does add a little bit of the pop to the pop punk aesthetic, because sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes you just get guys singing the same note, or you get no dual vocals at all. So I appreciated that very much with this song. But otherwise, I probably have it in the Blink-182 song bucket. It didn't quite do as much for me as it did for you. Although I did like, again, much like we did with the first two tracks, how Aliens Exist went right into going away to college, very much providing that live feel that I did like.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. And I think if it wasn't for the fact that, one, I was kind of taken back by the fact that Mark wrote this song in 10 minutes after watching Can't Hardly Wait, and how it's just so so much of a like a boilerplate like pop punk song from late 90s that you hear in a song like Can't Hardly Wait. I think I might be there in terms of appreciation, but we can slightly agree to disagree here, but not so much as in like this is what that was my favorite track and that was your least favorite track. But speaking about tracks and songs that could potentially be in our top tracks if we are people, I guess. Are you ready to kick it on over to which is going to be one of the first big songs off the album, which the next track being "What's My Age Again"?
Yes, What's My Age Again? And this is the one that 23-year-olds have dreaded since 1999. This track, first of all, the switch from the no brakes, all gas sound of the first four tracks to just a straightforward, slightly slower but not slow tempo on this track is already a nice start. And the guitar work from DeLonge is great. The bass coming in with that is great as well, especially on that opening. And then you get those opening lyrics from Mark Hoppus about, how he's on this date with this girl on a Friday night. They start walking home, get the feeling right. They start making out. She takes off her pants, but then he turns on the TV, and that's about the time that she walks away. Just the comedy of that alone is hilarious. Because again, typically what dude is actually going to do that? Not many. But these guys are talking about, hey, I'd rather watch, Beavis and Butthead. Or watch TRL. Hey, that's us. And it's just a very strong comedic vision that works very well with this song. And then the second verse is just the same sort of sophomore thing about him playing a prank call. And that's kind of it lyrically. I mean, it's a very basic song once again, much like Going Away to College. I would say it's probably even more basic because it's verse, chorus, solo, chorus, and then chorus again. But man, the execution on the chorus, once again, especially with this song, the dynamics are absolutely executed perfectly. Especially the way that Travis Barker just sort of laying low, putting a little ride cymbal here and there, and then he starts with a small beat, and then you get what I like to call the Ringo effect heading into the choruses, where he lifts the hi-hat just a little bit and goes from that is so effective in pop music, it's ridiculous, and Barker executes it perfectly to the point where the chorus is just full speed ahead, pop punk greatness. And again, the solo, because we really haven't had a whole lot of solos on this album. Again, it's pop punk. What do you expect? But the solo with the guitar and the bass sort of interloping with each other while Travis switches to the click on the snare drum and then just sort of gradually builds to that final chorus that just, once again, shows this band's power. It is just so, 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 so good. And not only that, the music video is funny too. Like you mentioned, you saw this on TRL. I didn't, but I've seen it since, and it is just a funny music video of, haha, they're playing in the nude. Haha, they're running down the street naked. Who's that? Oh no, what's going on? Uh-oh, are they on this TV set naked? Oh my goodness. It is just as sophomoric as the lyrics are, and it fits perfectly. And shocker, this is in my top 3. And it was tough. It was tough to figure out where to put this, but I'm sticking to my guns. I am putting this at number 2.
Fair enough, man. So this is gonna be awkward, but I'll try to do my best here. So with with What's My Age Again, like a lot of the things that you mentioned in your overview of the track here, I agree with 100%. Like one of the things I want to highlight is the fact that you were talking about like how everything is so tight, and yeah, I agree with you. The transitions from the verses to the chorus, like it's so smooth. It's just such a gentle lift, but that chorus is just you get transported to that chorus, and it's just so effective, and it's so like simple. Like this song is basically a very simple song, but it is so effective with what it does. It's just so disgustingly awesome with that. And outside of the transitions and how effective like everything is in terms of the execution in it, like I too like that simple guitar line that basically leads everything off. Tom, I feel like as much as like Travis gets like all the accolades for his like work throughout Blink-182's discography, and Mark gets credit for like being an excellent bassist. I feel like Tom doesn't get enough credit for being like an effective like guitarist. He can shred in his own right, and even with songs like this, like when you get that pullback, it automatically makes the listener kind of like peek up, like, oh hey, this is not like just another like take on like what we've heard in the album here so far. This song's a little different, and yeah, outside of those moments, again, agree with you 100%. Like the effectiveness of the bridge and how like it basically kind of shoots the listener into like the back half. The back end of the song here, like, is just very effective. And one set of lyrics that I do want to highlight is basically Mark like looking in the camera and basically sticking a metaphorical middle finger into the people who've made like comments about the fact that he was immature, which is actually the reason why Mark wrote this song. In fun fact, this song was originally titled Peter Pan Complex, but the record company changed it, believing people wouldn't understand its meaning. But yeah, the lyric I do want to highlight though is when Mark is singing, "No one should take themselves so seriously. With many years ahead to fall in line, why would you wish that on me?" And yeah, I get it. And like again, like earlier in the review, we were kind of critiquing Blink for being immature, but yeah, I mean, who's to say like you shouldn't really take yourself so seriously. Like life is long, man. Just enjoy it while it lasts. And only other thing I got to say about What's My Age Again is I know I kind of joked at the start of my thoughts and feelings about the track here that this could be the bottom track for me, or could not even be a top track for me. But let's be real. I have ears. I have a brain. I have brain cells that could spark like thoughts together, and the thoughts regarding this track here in terms of placement in my top tracks, because ladies and gentlemen, this does land in my top 3, is that it's not my third favorite track. It's not my top track off the album. It is my second favorite track off the album. So I'm right there with you, man.
Perfectly understandable. Last thing I'll say about What's My Age Again, it's funny how you brought up that last lyric in the last chorus. Apparently I've been mishearing it all these years because instead of fall in line, I've always heard it as fall in love, which to me adds another context to this song, which is that these guys don't want to fall in love. They just want to be goofy, dumb teenagers who play prank calls and watch television instead of mating with the opposite sex. So, but whichever one you think about, it still is the, what makes this song great is the pure sugar rush adolescence that drives it. Speaking of such adolescence, Ryan, if you are ready, I'm ready to close off the first half of this album with Dysentery Gary.
Oh, that was my nickname in high school, and then I had to change it to Ryan. Anyways. So Dysentery Gary. Yeah. We get kind of a blend of lyrical themes that we've experienced so far here in the album, with the song compositions stylings that we've heard as well. Right away we get very a very definitive start to the song, with kind of a call and response dynamic between Tom DeLonge and the instrumentals, where he's just singing "Got a lot of heartache," he's a fucking weasel. Like, I do like the give and take there. That's always a very much a Ryan Kearns coded, like, kink there. And like, just in general, like, I do like the guitar, like, that we have kicking everything off in this track. It is just so good. And like, the lyrical content as well. Like, I'm going to dive into it maybe a little bit here. So basically, the song is about like the perspective of someone dealing with unrequited love. It essentially captures the feelings of frustration of liking a girl who's interested in another guy, and then that you as a narrator who looks at that other guy and be like, you know what, fuck him. He's a fucking weasel. So yeah, that's basically the song in a nutshell. The song as a whole, though, it's a very solid way to end off side A of the album. I do like the chorus quite a bit. It's so big sounding, man. Like, probably one of the biggest sounding choruses off the whole album. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, we get better choruses, but here this chorus sounds really, really big and open. So, and I do like how everything ends off with Tom saying, "Fuck this place. I lost the war. I hate you all. Your mom's a whore. Where's my dog? Because girls were such a drag." And for that to be the way that side A ends off on the album, like, it's very definitive. It's very much to the point. Not a top track for me, but I do very much appreciate this song.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you as well. First of all, I acknowledge that once again they have returned to fast mode, but they have changed the key, so that is a plus. And you're right about Tom DeLonge's vocals being as powerful as they are. You nailed it with calling this big sounding, because it very much sounds big, and he is projecting very strongly, especially with those lines about being a weasel and girls being such a drag. Where's my dog? It's very much. This is a song about a guy who handles being rejected very, very, very badly. Like, not good at all. He gets rejected once, and the world is nothing to him. He is rejecting it. They are his enemy, etc., etc., etc. And again, it just sounds like, for as powerful as the choruses on some of the bigger hits on this album are, this is one of those songs that has sneakily sunk into my head over the course of the listening to this album for the sake of this review. Like, I'll just be like minding my own business, and I'll just hear, those opening lines about "he's a weasel," like, just spark in my brain. Just like, oh, there you are. Nice to have you back again. So yeah, this is like right on the line for me. I'm gonna be generous and put it in the underappreciated album cut bucket that you have established, because I think it just is powerful enough to climb past the likes of Dumpweed and Don't Leave Me into that second tier. Not a top track for me either, but definitely a very underrated track off this album.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, man. So yeah, that's side A of the review. We're halfway there, and before we start living on a prayer like Bon Jovi, and we dive into the back half of the review here with Adam's song, Matthew, I have a question for only you.
Only me. All right. Well, it's got to be a special question, man. I'm ready for it.
So the question is, man, we've been this being our 99th full length album review episode here, and with us delivering such juicy content on with this episode here, talking about Blink-182's Enema of The State, and if the with the listener out there, if they're enjoying what they're hearing here so far, and they want to help us, continue on producing album reviews week in and week out, what are some ways that they can help support what we do on a week in, week out basis, and also connect with us if they want to just, say hey?
Well, I believe I have the answers to that question. First of all, if they like what they're hearing, keep on listening to this. And the way you can keep on listening to this is by finding us on your favorite podcasting platform of choice, whether that is on Spotify, whether that is on Apple Music, whether that is on Pocket Cast or any other various podcast platforms. We're also on YouTube. We have episodes uploaded every week, and whenever we do, you'll find them in video form. So if you use YouTube Music or just the YouTube website itself, that is how you can find us as well. Also, if you like what you hear and you want to share it with a friend, but you're not sure which friend that might be, and you have this vast audience of people that are like, they might like blink-182, or they might like Charles Mingus, or they might like the Pink Tape, just to name a few examples of the ones that we have done. What they can do is find us themselves by doing what I just said, or you can help them find us by posting links to your social medias. If you are on social media, we are also on social media as well. We are on Blue Sky, we are on Facebook, we are on Threads, we are on Instagram. And if you're looking for us on social media, the username is ttheylisten. Again, that is ttheylisten on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. And speaking of ttheylisten, as Ryan mentioned, there is a way to reach out to us. So if you want to reach out to us directly, but you do not know us directly, we have an email address for you. That is ttheylisten@gmail.com. That is ttheylisten@gmail.com. If you want to give us feedback on what you liked, what you didn't like, what you thought we could have improved on, your favorite podcast segments. And also, if you would like to suggest a future podcast episode, we have done album requests in the past. We would love to do it again. So if you want to reach out to us directly, it is ttheylisten@gmail.com. So that is how you can reach out to us. Social media is how you can share us, and different places like Spotify and YouTube and podcast is how you can listen to us. And for those of you who've done any of those or all of those throughout the first 99 full reviews, well, 98 and a half full reviews to be specific, again, thank you. Me and Ryan appreciate what you do, helping us out, because again, we're not sponsored by any major pillow corporations. We're not sponsored by any soda corporations, any video games, any type of, crypto AI monkey thing. We are just two dudes with microphones who like to talk about music, and I thank you, Ryan, for being such a great dude to talk music with about for almost 100 full reviews and solidly over 100 episodes.
Right back at you, man. And yeah, it's been a blast, diving into as many albums. Just one thing I do appreciate about the amount of coverage that we've done so far here, with the amount of music that we've covered, is there'll be random things that have just they'll pop into my brain, and I'm like, oh hey, yeah, we've covered that in a previous episode. So it's been highly beneficial. I do love it 1,000%. So yeah, and I can't wait to continue on with our journey here. And I got something fun cooked up for our 100th full length review. It's a pretty big one. It's a pretty big, fabulous one. But before we talk about next week's review, let's kick it into overdrive and kick it into the back half of this review. And the first song on side B of this record is Adam's song, man. So Matthew, the floor is yours. Kick it off, man.
Thank you, man. I will do just that with Adam's song. And yeah, this one. So throughout the first half of Enema of the State from Blink-182, we have had very fast punk. We've had some rather upbeat, somewhat sad, but mostly just very rebellious, straightforward punk. Here, that is not the case, because what we get at the start is a switch to straightforward rock once again, much like we had with What's My Age Again. but you get a very different guitar sound, one that almost reminded me, and this might be a weird comparison, but I'm going to go with it anyway. It almost sounds like you're listening to a Tool song, the way that Tom and Mark are sort of providing that very steely, very dark ambiance with their low notes on the guitar, and you just get that dun 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 dun. Like that already sets the mood for what's about to occur, and what occurs is one of the heaviest songs I think I've ever heard. These lyrics are devastating because, for those who don't know Adam's song, it's considered a Blink-182 fan favorite. It was never a big hit, but people who have listened to this album have always come back to this song. It's very much a song written from the perspective of a kid who has, for lack of a better term, taken their own life, or is perhaps on the verge of doing so. And the way that they're talking about how, I'm not going to live to see X age, and I'm not going to be able to, do the things I want to do. And it very much has a similar style to a song that would come out a year later from the band The Bare Naked Ladies called Pinch Me, where it has a bit of a upbeat feel and a very sort of like sunrisey vibe musically. Like the music on here is very good. Tom, is it Tom or Mark on this track? I think it's Mark.
Yeah, it is Mark.
Okay, Mark Hoppus. He is singing here, and he's singing a lot higher than he usually does. Like, a lot of people know him for this very low register that he has on songs like I Miss You or What's My Age Again. Here he sings a little bit higher and a little bit more passionately, and it just hurts to hear in a good way. Like, not in a ow my ears, as in a ow my soul, because he is speaking very emotionally, singing very emotionally, and the one line that just hits when he sings, "Please tell Mom this is not her fault." Dude. Like, that just, like, it, like, turns your harsh strings into bass strings and vice versa, man. It's just, it hits heavily. But yeah, once again, the band does a really good job of presenting their dynamics. Like, for this being as dark as it is, they do have, again, a very serene quality to the music, particularly with that piano solo. Yes, there's piano on the song, and it's a very good piano. It definitely adds context to the verses and lyrics, and then when the solo comes, it is a very nice touch. And once again, the band is using dynamics to its song strengths. So yeah, I'm not going to get too much into the lyrics. I'm probably thinking you're going to a little bit just because of the depth of them. But yeah, I like the song quite a bit, and that writing is just magnificent. And it is in my top 3 at number 3.
So, with me, Adam's song here, you did an excellent job diving into the song as a whole. Like, the song, I'm going to go into the little bit about the background about the song. So, Adam, in this Adam song, is it's used as a metaphor towards Mark's depression that he experienced while on tour with Blink-182. He's on record stating that Tom and Travis always had girlfriends waiting back home, so they had something to look forward to at the end of the tour, but I didn't, so it was always like I was lonely on tour. But then I got home, and it didn't matter because there was nothing for me there anyway. So the whole lyric about, like, couldn't wait till I got home to pass time in my room alone. Like, that's basically a reflection there. I do like the subject material that they talk about here because, yes, it's very dark. It's very, very 13 Reasons Why, suicide coded, to a T. But I also do like the life affirming aspect of it, because when you really think about the ending of the chorus with the lyrics, like, the tour was over, we survived, I couldn't wait till I got home to pass the time in my room alone. You get the sense that this Adam character in the song like, contemplated committing the act, but never went through with it. So yeah, like to hear like a song like this, like it's very important for you to realize that, like, hey, yeah, like life might be a little bit depressing, but at the end of the day, you survived and you get the time to, recoup and decompress in your own safe environment. Because like, what other environment in this world is more safe to a human being than their own room? Like, you get the house, which is supposed to be a safe place for you, but then you get your own room. Like, that's almost like being inside of your own, like, like your own, like, skin, your own head, but in a comfort sense. But without getting too much into my own ass in terms of my lyrical dissection there, I do like what they're bringing to the table here. Um, the on the song composition front, a lot of the elements that you highlighted, I agree with 100%. Like the chorus here, it's really good. It's pretty big. Probably not as big as like a couple of songs off the album, but it's still like pretty effective nonetheless. And that bouncy guitar riff that you talked about in your dissection about the track, like I found to be very 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 engaging as well, like and it's used throughout the song as well. So I do like how Blink uses like uses a guitar riff to like establish a home base for a song, like almost like I know we're talking about like punk rock to a T, but it's very much coded in the roots of like jazz, like back in the day where like the soloist will be off soloing and then we would get back to the main melody and go back into like a solo. So like I do appreciate that on the songwriting aspect. The piano in the bridge that you highlighted, I agree, is a very nice touch. And also just the bridge as a whole is just amazing because like you don't get any instrument, like you don't get any lyrics, any singing. You just basically get instrumentals that like transport the listener into the final chorus of the song, which gives you the sense that the narrator in this case decides not to go through with the act. So yeah, I don't really have all that much else to say about Adam's song other than the fact that yeah, it didn't land in my top three, surprisingly. There was another song off of the album that took that number three spot. So, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit of a spicy Sam here, man.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest, this song just barely beat out Aliens Exist and barely beat out the likes of a couple other songs to get that number three spot. And it is a little basic on my part, but at the same time, again, I cannot deny how good that writing is and how very, like you say, emotionally charged and heartfelt that is from Mark Hoppus talking about his experiences dealing with being alone on the road and then being alone when he's not on the road and realizing, hey, this sucks, but I did it and I've lived to tell the tale. And what a tale it is, because part of being on the road and being in a band like this is promoting some of your bigger songs. Speaking of which, Ryan, the next track off of Enema of the State, track 8 of 12, probably the biggest one. I'm not even going to say probably, it is the biggest one. And it is one called All the Small Things, and the floor is now yours.
Oh man, so what is there to say about all the small things that hasn't been said before? But you know what? This white guy from Pittsburgh is gonna try to give his take on the song. So I'm gonna start right off the gate and say that I like a lot of the transitions in this album here that we've talked about here so far. We get the transition from Adam's song into All the Small Things, which what a kind of a lyrical whiplash and a musical whiplash from Adam's song to All the Small Things. Like Hannah Montana's out there being like, "You get the best of both worlds," but yeah, so yeah, All the Small Things though. For me, if you were to ask, "Hey, Ryan James Kearns, what do you consider to be the perfect pop punk song of all time? I would be like All the Small Things. I will not take any questions. Will there be any questions? So, oh man. But yeah, just what makes it so effective is the fact that uh, the lyrics are so simple, but they're so simple in the fact that for they invite for the perfect audience sing back during concerts. And for those of you who are just trying to flesh out what I was trying to say there, is just like bands like Blink-182 and another favorite band of mine, the Wonder Years. What they'll do sometimes is like they'll write such big lyrics, or just when I mean big lyrics, like simple, easy to remember lyrics, that whenever these songs are played live in a concert setting, that it like the crowds would sing back to them. And yeah, that's one thing I do like about All the Small Things, 100%. And then outside of the lyrics, though, the guitars, they're like at various points in the song here, they're just so crunchy. Like outside of the chorus and the verses, like I do like how they sound as a whole. And the song as a whole, it's basically almost like an homage to the Ramones, because like everything's just so simple and it's just so huge. It's very much like Blink-182's Blitzkrieg Bop. And yeah, I'm just gonna say it, I know I kind of have this running gag with our episodes here where I'm like, oh, this is a pretty good chorus, probably one of the best off the whole album. All the Small Things, like the chorus here, it's the best off the whole album. Like there's no denying it, and the bridge here is just so good. I just love how it just catapults the listener into the last chorus in such an effective manner. So yeah, this song rocks 100% to the T. Really don't really need to go into the lyrics so much though, because it's basically about relationships and just being there for one another. Yeah, it's a great song nonetheless. Only other thing I got to say about All the Small Things is it did land in my top 3, because if I did not include Adam's song and All the Small Things in my top 3 in this review, I might just have to look at myself in the mirror and be like, hey man, are you okay? But All the Small Things is easily my favorite song off the whole album.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't go too deep into the lyrics because of a couple reasons. One, they're very simplistic. Two, they are, as you mentioned, about relationships. And 3, I think the biggest reason, which is I know every word to this song, and if you are listening to this podcast, so do you. Do not lie to me. For a few reasons. One, there aren't that many words to this song in the first place, but it works to the band's ideology of this just being, again, a very powerful, basic pop punk song. And once again, we get their sense of humor. I mean, what pop punk band before this song or since has used the word commiserating? Like, let's be real. Like, no band, like most bands don't do that, let alone pop punk bands, but they just made it work so perfectly. And I know you mentioned this song's about relationships, which I agree, but it also has a bit of a working class feel to it, maybe in the powerful second verse where it goes, late night, come home, work sucks, I know, she left me roses by the stairs, surprises let me know she cares. And that's, by the way, about 50% of the lyrics I just mentioned, so you're welcome. But you knew that already. Yeah, it does have that working class mentality that elevates this song past just simple pop punk, I'm in high school, wah type of things. And ironically enough, gives it a bit more maturity and a bit more of a broader reach towards the casual listener, because, are people in their 30s and 40s going to say that they understand what it's like to prank phone call somebody or believe in aliens and tell off their mom or, go away to college. No, they're working. But if they're working and it's been a rough day, sometimes they like little surprises in their life. So that, I think, elevates that song even more so. But the key to the song, as you mentioned, Ryan, is the band itself. The guitars are perfect. Just the slashing power chords of DeLonge really power things home. And even though you can't really hear them until maybe the bridge, Hoppus is right along there too, and he does nothing wrong on this song. And Travis Barker, man, like that bridge, the way it pulls back and the way he just builds with that final crescendo of snare in the fill into that final chorus is just one of the best drumming moments of the late 90s and of pop punk as a whole. Just you can say, like, oh, so good each and every single time. It is undeniable. So yeah, like this song has earned its reputation for being just an absolute banger of a song for all audiences. There's a reason that the Colorado Avalanche made this sort of their fun song during their 2022 Cup run. Not that we're talking about hockey, but this song has stood the test of time for all the right reasons. All the small things, much like you, Ryan, is in my top 3, standing at the mountaintop at number 1.
For me, it was kind of a little bit of a toss-up, at least going into the review, about, like, am I going to put all the small things in the top spot, or is it going to be What's My Age Again? And what are my feelings about Adam's song? Because I know those are the 3 big songs coming into the review. But for me, what makes all the small things basically stand head and shoulders above the competition is the sheer fact of it being very much a pop punk version of Blitzkrieg Bop, in it being just so effective, so huge, and everybody knows the lyrics between you, me, my dog, my grandma who's dead, rest her soul, of the postman who speaks Spanish. So everybody knows the lyrics, man. Let's not kid ourselves, man. But yeah, such a good song, man. And I'm glad that we completed your top 3. I'm curious to see what your bottom track is going to be. And we've yet to complete my top 3, man. So I'm excited, man.
We haven't got to your bottom song yet, have we?
Correct as well. So I've yet to reveal my 3rd favorite track and my bottom song.
Yes, and I have yet to reveal my bottom song. So for those filling out your scorecards at home and wondering if you missed anything, there's your recap up to this point.
So yeah, the next song is, oh man, it's a fun song. It's the party song, Matt, and I do believe the floor is yours.
The floor is mine for the party song, and with this song, after 2 straight songs, which are a little more straightforward rock and not quite as 100 miles per hour punk, we get back to it. But unfortunately, we don't get back into it in a way that I think works. Because after the opening line, which is delivered a cappella from Mark Hoppus, which is great, I will give him that. That's just a great opening line. The band and the vocals kick in, and I'm sorry, the way the execution is for the first 30 seconds to a minute of this song is just so disjointed to me. Like, I get the effect they're going for, a bit more of a very herky-jerky, hey, things are happening all at once type of feel, but the way that the vocals come down on the 1 and how it almost feels like they're halfway between fast punk and a waltz, like it just did not land on my ears very well at all. And that's just the musical front of it. Once it gets to the first chorus, things start to settle down a bit. It feels a bit more typical. So I thought that musically the rest of the song was fine, but that opening was rough. But then you get to the words itself, and I'm not a huge fan of those either, because I'm just going to be blunt and say that this song is about as wordy and catty as anything on the Life of a Showgirl, because to me, this almost sounds like what would happen if the protagonist of Dysentery Gary were himself going to a party. And he's looking around saying like, oh, these jocks are just trying to get in these girls' pants, and oh, they're just serving, some sparkling wine, and oh, girls are trying too hard, and maybe I'll be happy, but everybody's trying too hard. This party stinks. I don't like it. It's like, dude, come on. Like, trust me, I get that there are people like that in the world. There are people like that at a party. And as I said with Dumpweed, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world to create a character analysis. But again, between the rough opening and the whininess of the lyrics throughout, again, the band does sound good. And, if they had executed a little better, I might have given props to the band for navigating such a tricky opening. But I think that was an opening they didn't have to make tricky, and I don't think this is a song they had to make as catty and wordy as they had to. So I don't know if I need to say it out loud, but I'm going to anyway. We have completed my scorecard. The party song is right at the bottom for me.
You hear that sound, Matthew?
Is that the bell going off? Is this the sound of the alarm bells alerting us that it is 5 o'clock in the Steel City?
Absolutely, man. It's the sound of the 5 o'clock bells hitting. So after the bells are done, hitting, man. Yeah. So I'm pretty much in disagreement with you for probably a good bit of your analysis of the song, and I do understand where you're coming from. A little bit of a backstory about the party song and my appreciation for it. It comes from playing Rock Band with my high school friends, Mike and Sean, and just how insane the song is to try to sing is just, it's batshit, and it's so much fun, and so yeah, it's basically how I came at this song for the purposes of the review, because I knew how much fun it was for me, and even on the listener front, just the way that the band is able to basically execute the slow fast dynamic here, almost to a comical lens, where in the verses you get basically everything going at times 2 speed, and then in the chorus you get everything go back to maybe regular speed, if not 0.5 speed. But yeah, it's just so comical with how in the fast sections, unless you are really looking at the lyrics on online, you don't know what he's saying. All you're hearing is just da 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 da, and at the end of the verses it's always into the party, and it's almost just every verse ends with the party. And then you get the relief coming from the choruses, where it's a pressure relief, where you get everything sung a little bit more straight, a little bit more straightforward, and then you get back into the chaos and the blitzkrieg of the verses. So I do like the fastest in the execution of the verses. I do respect your thoughts and opinions about them, though, 100%. So it's not quite 5 o'clock city here, but, it's fine, man. It's fine. So, yeah. And other things I do just like about the song is the post-chorus with the nanas. They're so good. It's very much reminiscent of All the Small Things and, every good thing that's come out of pop punk as a whole. Anytime I hear, nanas, it's very much a millennial coded pop punk staple for me. So I do enjoy the use of it there. And yeah, just for me, the song's always a great time. Very much the feeling of going to a party, though, and how chaotic going to a party like this can be, where everything's just so quick, and then you get the moment of clarity where you see I don't want to say like the hot girl coming in to the party, or just realizing you get a moment of fresh air where like, oh, wait, girls kind of suck. And then the party. So, yeah. Do I need to say it? We've completed my top three with the party song taking the cake at number 3.
And I acknowledge that a lot of this probably has to do with personal biases, but I don't begrudge personal biases. I mean, this is our podcast. We could, decry and, declare whatever the hell we want. And I appreciate you giving that backstory, because I will admit, if I were to be in that situation where I was playing Rock Band and trying to perform any part of the song, I'd probably just get frustrated, because it's, I wouldn't say it's on the same level as a Through the Fire and Flames, relatively speaking, but the intricacy is noted. And again, I think I understand where you're coming from with the effect of it being very chaotic, and like you're at a party and you're kind of getting bumped around and you're trying not to spill your drink. So again, I understand the effect they were going for and I respect it, but it just didn't sound that good to me. And I also thought, again, the clarity moment of, did just come across a little bitter for me. This is not like the worst song I've ever heard. Like as an album track, if I were listening to this album front to back, I don't think I would full on skip it, but I would still have that moment of, But again, that's just my personal opinion. You've had your personal opinion, and I think we can agree to wholeheartedly disagree on the party song, which, as Ryan stated, is in his top 3 at number 3, and it is my least favorite song. Shifting gears, we are now moving on to the final 3 tracks, and the first of which is going to be Mutt. Ryan, floor is yours.
So, with Mutt here, we get a pretty solid deep cut off the album. Like, the instrumentals here are pretty solid. I do like the way that the guitars sound very nice and crunchy. Shout out to DeLong again for his guitar sound. Like, it's very effective here. And also, Mark, I didn't know that his bass line that he's playing throughout the song is pretty awesome. Like, again, Mark Hoppus, who knew that he was a great bass player? Like, apparently everybody knows. But, and even to, like, counteract that, the guitar parts as well during the verses, like, they're great as well. So, I almost want to put this song basically kind of in, like, a album track kind of territory. But I don't know. It feels like almost like an insult to put this into an album track territory, because like I do enjoy like the instrumentals, but there's like maybe all that not that much more than, oh hey, yeah, they're doing some cool parts, and like the lyrics though, like they're pretty hilarious. So the song was inspired by Benji Weatherly, who was a pro surfer that Tom once lived with, who had a lot of sex. So, and I did love, like, just the hilarity of the lyrics. A couple of lines I want to highlight are, he pauses shaving, and he tells himself that he is the bomb. And then later on you get, she smokes a dozen, and he doesn't seem to notice the smell. So, yeah, I do like the lyrics and how hilarious they are. Pretty good song in its own right. Not too much else to say about it, but I do appreciate it. So maybe I'm going to put this song here in between like the good deep cut album tracks, but not in that bucket, but maybe the one bucket down where, like, it's a pretty good album track.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I think this is a pretty good album track as well. And to me, I think the first thing I noticed is that, unlike the opening to the party song, I think it was a very straightforward intro, and just straightforward throughout. Like, this is very much in code with the first 4 songs off this album. And the one thing I did appreciate about this track, there were a couple little things I did appreciate about it. First of all, the switching of the typical dynamics where, and I feel like they've done this probably a couple of other times on this album already. Probably the party song was one of them, if I'm going to be completely honest, but Mutt, I think, does it a little bit better, is how the verses are louder than the chorus. And for a band that's already provided some big, beefy choruses on this album already, for them to have the loudness and the fastness on the verses as compared to the chorus was a nice, interesting touch. I did like that quite a bit. I also did like the breakdown, or I dare call it a solo because it wasn't. It was a bridge. And the bridge or the breakdown, whatever you want to call it, being as sparse as it was, I thought was a really nice touch as well, where you just kind of get these like little chunks of guitar and then Barker playing this basic beat. Like it's very much a very stripped down, like it's almost like a bridge for the sake of being a bridge. But I thought it was very effective in that regard. Like, it would just sort of slow things down and really put the brakes on. So I did appreciate that. Otherwise, I agree with you on the lyrics. They're not the best lyrics on the album, but they are pretty funny because it is a sort of bird's eye view of these two or whoever it is, these 7 or 12 or however many this surfer dude was able to add to his body count. And all the things where it's just like, yeah, all right. So you smoke a dozen, and I'm not gonna shave my entire face. Cool. So you want to go back to my room? And it's just like, it's so silly. But yeah, I would say I'm kind of in that same territory where I'm sort of on the edge of putting this either in the good song bucket or the better song bucket, but I'd say it's solidly in the good song bucket for me. Like, it's fine. It didn't super stand out to me except for those few sections, but I would say it's pretty solid. I would say it's maybe at the top of the good song bucket and just underneath the deep album tracks great song bucket.
So I think at the end of the day, we're pretty much in alignment with our thoughts and feelings about Mutt here. Like, decent song for those of you who want to maybe dig past your What's My Age Again and all the small things. Check out Mutt. It's a pretty good song. Both me and Matt give it the thumbs up in a metaphorical stance there. So shuffling into the penultimate track on the record here. Matthew, the floor is yours. The next track is called Wendy Clear.
Wendy Clear. It is the penultimate track on this album, and before I give my thoughts, for those of you keeping score at home, Ryan has yet to reveal what his least favorite track is, and he will do that very shortly because we have 2 to go. But my thoughts on Wendy Clear, first of all, I noticed the vocals on this track are pretty interesting because to me it almost feels like Hoppus on this track, who again has more of a traditionally lower voice, almost sounds like a slightly toned down version of Tom DeLonge. Like, I guess at this point of the album he definitely has a bit more of a whine in his voice or a bit more of a sneer, but not that that's a bad thing, because apparently from what I've read, and you feel free to fact check me on this when giving your thoughts, Ryan, but from what I read on Genius, apparently the song is about the band and particularly Mark's strained relationship with their label, which was MCA Records, and that they were just like, I'm not sure if, this ship has sailed, or I'm not sure if, things are going in the right direction. We may need to change of scenery, or maybe we're just stuck working for the man. I gotta be completely honest with you, this almost became a bottom track for me, because even though I read that this was about their strained relationship with their record label, looking at the lyrics on a surface level, it could be about pretty much anything. Like, there is a lot of metaphors, a lot of, talking about this and that, and I've said before that I don't like tracks where you need, some sort of, thesaurus or copy of People magazine to figure out what the hell they're talking about, because it's just like, what do they mean by this? What do they mean by this? What do they mean by this? Is this related to that? Is this related to this? If it's so cryptic as to become confusing, it's not good. But That being said, the band does sound fine on here. It's a nice little pullback, almost musical tone, somewhat similar to Adam's song, or at least on the same sort of stripped back level as Adam's song. But for all the confusion of the lyrics or the vagueness of it, it didn't quite drown itself enough to be a bottom track for me, because at the end of the day, I can listen to this track and be like, all right, cool, fine. It's a Blink-182 song. I get it. Life is life.
And this is Walgreens. So, oh man. So I'm gonna start with talking about what this song is specifically about. So you were kind of like, in the right ballpark, apparently, according to Genius.com. So yeah, Hoppus wrote this song while he was on tour, while they were on tour with MXPX, and the song is about having a crush on someone who you're not supposed to like. And the way that I'm gonna basically kind of say you were kind of in the right ballpark is like in this specific case, this specific someone was somebody who worked at Blink's label at the time. So yeah, but I agree with you that the lyrics are basically ambiguous to a point where you can basically come up with your own meaning, and chances are it's right. So, and with a song like this, and with Blink-182 as a whole, you don't need to really dive into the specific meaning. They just want you to have a good time and just jam out to the song and relate to it on a human level. And with the lyrics basically as they are, in the one lyric that centers the whole song being, I wish it didn't have to be so bad. Yeah, I think everyone can relate to that. It's the year of our Lord 2025, and every day I wake up and I'm like, man, I wish it didn't have to be so bad. So, but state of the world aside, though, yeah, just the overall thoughts and feelings I have about the song. This is very much another solo deep cut off the album. I think I do like it a little bit more than Mutt. So placing it in the good deep cut album track territory here, song bucket. And the reasons for that, outside of the lyrics and my thoughts here so far, is the guitar kicking everything off is so good. I do like how it's very much a prototypical pop punk guitar riff, but it's very effective. And speaking about prototypical pop punk, you get that on the instrumental front 100%. And I do like how in the second verse you get to switch up where the bass becomes more the focus. So yeah, Blink could have easily wrote the song as a straightforward pop punk song to the T, but for them to switch up the instrumentation on the second verse, I noticed that. I see you, Blink-182. I see your songwriting chops, and I commend you for that. So yeah, for those of you who are wondering at home, you probably kind of picked it up. This is not my least favorite track off the whole album. It's a good solid deep cut for me.
Interesting. So, yeah, I think again you're a little higher on this song than I am, but I don't think it's anywhere near a bad song. It's fine. It does kind of go in one ear and out the other, and you're just kind of like, what was that? But I think it is time to burn this place down. And Ryan, it is your turn to hit the floor with the torch. I will leave the extinguisher behind so you may be as free as you want to be. Why is the final track on this album, entitled Anthem, your least favorite? Go.
So with Anthem here, it's my feelings are pretty mixed, but I'm gonna at the very end, I'm obviously gonna tell you why it's my least favorite track. I'm gonna start with the positives because, like, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I'm always look on the bright side of life, as like Monty Python once said. So here, the way that the track kicks off with the chugging riffs, and you get Tom coming in with those big vocals, very defiant. I was just like, yeah, man, I like this, man. This is really good stuff. Like, like almost kind of like a mirror song to like Dysentery Gary, where like that closed off side A, this is closing off side B. Like, they're different songs, but they're very defining in their own rights, and they're like, it almost seems like they're in different countries in terms of like, what they're bringing on the musical landscape. But outside of the chugging riffs and the big vocals, one thing I did enjoy in the song, like we've heard in like countless songs off this album here, is like the shifts in tempo that you get. Like, I do appreciate that. Like, verse one, you like I illustrated what was going on there, but then in the pre-chorus you get like like the fast shift, like oh, I'm Michael Scott and I can go so fast. Oh, look how fast I can go. And then like you got in the verse 2, you get back into like that home bass kind of tempo. So I did appreciate that. And also you get sections here where the band's just slapping you in the face with like a wall of sound, and that's always a treat for me. I always do like that. So why is this my bottom track, you might be asking? Because you're like, hey, you're talking about this track in such a positive light. What are things that put in a bottom track territory? So before I dive into those specific reasons, keep in mind, for me, like, this barely just met the criteria for a bottom track, and it's for two very specific reasons. Do you remember in our Against Me review where I talked about, or even more specifically in the System of a Down review, where I talked about the drum beat that is like the hardcore punk rock offbeat like drum rhythm?
Yes,
you get that a lot in the back half of this track here, and it's very prominent, and it's too hard for me to ignore, so it's always a turn off to me. It's just too disjointing for me, and that's something that's saying something, because I put the party song as my third favorite track off the whole album. So
yeah, I was gonna say, hold on, I feel like there's a bit of a paradigm shift with your logic here, but again, the floor is yours. I apologize for interrupting.
And well, like with the party song, like there was, I don't know, there was more to it. Like here, like the punk rock offbeat drum beat is just, it's featured more heavily. So, and the other thing that sunk this song for me is the line, "I time bomb, I tie bomb, I tie bomb." Like, come on, dude. Like, I know what you're going for. Like, you're saying you're a time bomb, but just saying, I'm a time bomb. Don't say I time bomb. Like, you sound like a third grader. So, and I don't know, I might be like, shortchanging Blink, and he might be like, so mentally deranged that he can, like, not form a complete thought together. But yeah, it's just very poor. And that's very unfortunate, because maybe if it wasn't for the whole "I time bomb" line, I might be like, this is not a bottom track for me. But for the punk rock offbeat drum beats that I illustrated, and for the "I time bomb" thing, this song just unfortunately just sank just low enough to be in the bottom track contention for me.
And I understand that too. I kind of forgot about the "I time bomb" thing, and that is, like, maybe the mix was so high on everything else that I didn't really pick up on that. So my thoughts on Anthem, not the Anthem that would come with Good Charlotte several years down the line. But this song, honestly, like, it's funny you mentioned how Dysentery Gary was one of the songs you thought of. as far as this, because it does close out side B like it does side A. But to me, this song kind of comes across as a mix of both Dysentery Gary and a song we've talked about before in a past review, which is The Offspring's The Kids Aren't Alright, because it does have this kind of feeling of the neighborhood is going down with the sinking ship, and it does have a bit of an effect on me that I appreciated, with it just being like, well, this is life now, and everything's falling apart, la-di-da. But yeah, the I-Time bomb aside, I agree with you musically. They start this, or they finish this album the way they started, which is very, very fast, which I did think was pretty good. I didn't notice the offbeat as much, obviously, as you did, so I didn't dock at any points for that, and I'm also not quite as against it as you are. But yeah, to me, Anthem kind of teeters in that same category with Mutt, where it's kind of on the verge of being a solid album track or an underrated track, leaning again a little bit towards solid track, not too good enough to be in the, oh, you really check this out category, but hey, it's all right category. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Anthem.
So yeah, man. So yeah, without any further ado, man, we've had 12 tracks up. Now 12 tracks have been put down, put to bed. Scorecards have been filled out. So there's only one thing left to say about this review here.
We did it, man.
We did indeed do it. We traveled back to the year of 1999. We experienced the Enema of the State while blinking 182 times. I just went for it, man. So
I saw the gears turn to your head. You realized you had to make a pun based on Enema. I was like, uh-oh. I set some problems here. I don't know what to do with this. So, but I appreciate you taking the straight route with it, like most good enemas are. I will go first with this, with my overall thoughts. And to me, yeah, this album deserves its reputation of being just one of the more high-end pop-punk albums ever made. It goes no gas, or excuse me, all gas, no brakes for so much of it. And instrumentally, with the exception of the opening to the party song, and even there a little bit too, the performances are stellar. Like, it doesn't like go into like very technical territory, but it's not supposed to. It's pop punk. You know, the guitars slash where they slash, they hold back where they hold back. The bass does the same thing, and Travis Barker becomes the missing piece that helps this band break through to a much larger audience. Lyrically, it is basic at times, but again, with punk, basic is good. And the little moments where they showcase that they're not just your typical 3 power chords of the Truth band make them stand out very, very well. I'm not going to give this a full 10 out of 10, but much like the other album from 1999 that we covered 2 weeks ago, which is Brad Paisley's Who Need Pictures, I'm going to give this the same rating, and that rating is an 8.5 out of 10.
And for me, this album here is very much a musical landmark in terms of the pop punk scene in the late 90s, early 2000s. Very foundational for what bands like All Time Low and the Wonder Years would eventually emulate in their sound. This album has some of the biggest songs in Blink's career, what I've classified to be as the perfect pop punk song. Wow, speaking's hard apparently. With all the small things. Another amazing song in What's My Age Again, and we can't go without saying Adam's song as being one of the big 3 off the record here. So all fantastic singles, all big songs in their catalog, and you get deep cuts off the album as well as Wendy Clear, The Party Song, Aliens Exist, a handful of really good deep cut songs that the traditional maybe surface level Blink-182 fan wouldn't know. Can't give this album full marks because of the fact that I had a bottom track in this review with Anthem and I Tie Bomb. So, yeah. But nonetheless, I'm going to give this album here a solid 9 out of 10 because like for me this album here represents a must hear for anybody who's interested in the pop punk genre as a whole. It like I will put this along same grade plateau as like albums like Dookie, in terms of foundational albums for the genre. So my 9 and your 8.5 average out to be a solid 8.75 out of 10 because
math
works for everybody. Does not hate, does not discriminate. It's just numbers. Suck it up, bitch. For me, I'm gonna go first in terms of my next album recommendations. Off of this record here, and I'm not gonna overthink it, man. It's just gonna be go to their next album, take your pants off and jacket. Very much a continuation off the sound that they were building off of with Enema of the State here. Songs like First Date, Roxo, Stay Together for the Kids. Very good album. If you, dear listener, have not listened to Take Your Pants Off and Jacket, check it out.
Yeah. And for me, my recommendation is going to be a bit of a different one. You talk about seminal albums in pop punk, and you mentioned Dookie by Green Day being the prototype to this. I'm going to go with the prototype to Dookie as my recommendation, and that is from 1981. And that is an album entitled Milo Goes to College by a band called The Descendants. And that album is very much one of the pioneering California pop punk albums of all time. Much like Enema of the State, it has very fast guitars, very good bass work. The drumming's a little bit more basic than it is on Enema of the State, but if you're into pop punk and you're into the history of the genre, I would steer you towards that. Plus, it's only 21 minutes long, so it isn't a very long listen. So, Milo Goes to College by The Descendants is my next recommendation based off of Enema of the State.
Always a good time for me. It's been a while since I've listened to Milo Goes to College, so if anything, you've kind of inspired me to check it out within the next 24 hours. So, yeah, dear ladies and gentlemen, and anybody who identifies as anything in between, to summarize the review here as a complete package, our average rating for Enema of the State by blink-182 is a solid 8.75 out of 10. I recommended Take Off Your Pants and Jacket by blink-182 for next album recommendation. And Matthew recommended Milo Goes to College by The Descendants. So, yeah, man. What a review, man.
Yeah, man. It was a very fun review talking about Enema of the State and, talking about one of the more popular albums in the history of pop punk and appreciating some of the less popular elements of it, too, like Adam's song, like Aliens Exist and the like. So, yeah, I'm glad we did this review. And we agreed a little bit more than we did with the other review from 1999 that we talked about. Spoilers for those who haven't checked out the Brad Paisley episode yet. But without any further ado, I should say, Ryan, 99 reviews up, 99 reviews down. We have one more to go to reach 100. And you've been cooking this up for a while. What's the chef got on the table?
So, for our 100th review, I was maybe going to go down an obvious road with a couple of the albums that we haven't talked about, but we kind of skirted around them for several potential episodes. But I decided to change gears on that. I decided to have us finally address a band that we've been kind of avoiding. It's a pretty big band. It's a pretty big, fabulous band. That's all I'm going to leave, basically there to hint at clues of what this band is. But the way I'm going to have you choose between the two albums in this discography of this certain band, and therefore choosing what our 100th review is going to be, I'm going to have you pick between two bands that have done covers of songs from said album. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. Are you kind of picking up what I'm putting down?
I have a sinking suspicion I know which band you're talking about, but
without any further ado, the two albums, the two artists are The Flaming Lips or Aerosmith.
Ooh. Ho. Okay, I think I know exactly which two these are. And so, for a little bit of a challenge, I am going to go with Aerosmith because I know where we're heading, and let's talk about it.
So you've chosen Aerosmith, man. From the two choices there, and you seem very confident on what our next review is going to be. So I'm going to keep the listener a little bit in suspense. They'll just have to tune into our next episode to find out what we're gonna talk about, man. But yeah, oh shit, man! You know what I just realized?
What?
This review's over.
That's it?
Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so, man.